Kia ora everyone. So just another video explaining your activities for today. So this one is posted as an assignment on Google Classroom under the heading Hāngī Experiments Planning. What I'd like you to do here is plan out two experiments that investigate how best to prepare a hāngī. And the idea is that we will do these experiments next week when I return. So when you open up the slides, you'll see that the first slide is just a starter activity to get you warmed up. And if you think you know all the answers, they're on the last slide. So we have to design experiments that investigate how best to prepare a hāngī. So there's two things that I want you to look at. Firstly, which type of rock is best for using a hāngī? Now, you might have a preference already about what rocks you use for hāngī, but you got to apply that to a scientific method. And for a hāngī, you need to heat up the rocks to a very, very high temperature, get them very hot so that they can release the heat and cook the food. So the best rocks are the ones that can hold the most heat and release it. So how do we investigate which type of rock is best for hāngī? That's your job to try to design the experiment and make a prediction about what you think will happen, and then we'll do it on next week. Now, you can only use equipment from the lab, so things like beakers, water, thermometers, Bunsen burners, and you will obviously have rocks that you guys can bring in, and I can bring in some as well. So think about how to best simulate a hāngī and how to best simulate heating up the rocks and how to measure how much heat is released when the rocks are heated. So once you've done that, think about your hypothesis. What do you think is going to happen? And the basic answer that I want you to get at is tell me which type of rock do you think is going to be the best. So there's a link here to different rock types and a picture thing here as well. So give me a reason why you think your rock is going to be the best at releasing the heat. So hopefully you know some of these words. So I want you to tell me the independent variable. That's the variable that you are changing and you decide on. And then the dependent variable is the variable you measure during the experiment. What is the equipment list you need, and the recipe or the method for carrying out this experiment? What are the controlled variables? So these are the variables that need to be kept the same throughout each set of experiments so that they don't affect the results of the experiment. So for this one, the only thing we want to change are the rocks. We don't want to change any other factor. And how can you make sure that your experiment is as accurate as possible? So we care very much about precision. So then the second experiment, once you finish planning that, is does a hāngī need to be covered? So obviously people cover a hāngī so that you can keep the steam in there, but how much difference does that actually make? So that's what I need you to also do, is plan an experiment that simulates the model of a hāngī and how important a cover is at the top. Again, you can only use equipment from the lab. So the same format applies here. Give me your hypothesis, the independent and dependent variable, equipment list, method, controlled variables, and how you can make it accurate. All right, so that's your task for today. Oh, I don't want to show you the answers. Please get this ready, submit it as an assignment so that next week we can start the experiments. Awesome, thanks.